Hello everybody and welcome to Ashton Talks Crypto, making sense of it all. And today we've got a fantastic guest on the show. We've got Funsho from We Coach Crypto. How are you doing, Funsho?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm really well, thank you very much. Just before we start the show, what I'd like to do is always ask a little bit about who you are and what you do, Funsho.
Okay, well, my name's Funsho and I've got a business called We Coach Crypto. I've been an investor in the cryptocurrency space for just over 5.5 years. Learned a great deal, obviously made mistakes along the way, and it's so important from my perspective to make sure that other people don't make those mistakes and sort of fast track their way through this. Yep. So we offer a number of different services to make sure that people can navigate this space. They understand long-term investment, they understand trading. And yeah, that's what I do and have been doing for quite some time now.
Fantastic. That sounds great. I mean, before people get to that point, I mean, it's crypto seems to be on the tip of the tongue of just like, you know, the general public now. It's kind of, as we know, it's almost 10 years or just over 10 years in. And we know that it's very exciting. But as you probably know yourself, there's a hell of a lot of people out there and investors as well that are still quite skeptical about crypto. And it probably is the fact that, you know, a lot of the way that people speak about crypto, it kind of just goes over the top of their heads, you know, and they seem to be frightened about what crypto is, and let alone when we start talking about blockchain. And at the moment, when I talk to the general public and especially investors, they're not even linking the two together. They think that blockchain and crypto are completely separate entities, you know. But it's, you know, what we're looking at from an investor point of view is, you know, we know that it's a great investment and it's something incredibly exciting, and it's still very early days. But talking to a newbie, should we say a newbie, how would you explain a little bit in your terms about what cryptocurrency is, for example, Bitcoin and blockchain? How would you explain that to somebody?
Okay, so in its simplest terms, Bitcoin is an innovative payment network that allows peer-to-peer transactions. So let's say I've got some Bitcoin and I want to send it to you. There's no need for a middleman. Okay, so ultimately the bank or the central point of authority has been removed from the situation, which is completely groundbreaking. It's never been done before, and it's taken the financial, you know, services industry in the whole world by storm. So Bitcoin is just electronic cash is the closest thing that I would say to it. But, you know, you have sovereignty that comes with that. There's a lot of responsibility because you need to be your own bank. But the technology that's behind it and the way that each transaction is recorded is unbelievable. It's groundbreaking. And that's where the blockchain technology comes into play, because every single cryptocurrency that's out there, well, the vast majority anyway, they require blockchain technology to exist. So the two come hand in hand. You know, you can't use Bitcoin without blockchain technology being a part of it. Mm-hmm. But as you've rightly said, when you're trying to explain how all of this works, because the inner mechanisms of it all is not easy to explain, because cryptography is in there. You know, you've got a digital ledger. There's, you know, you've got wallets, and then you've got private keys, and you've got public keys and wallet addresses, and there's so many things that come into play there. But if you're talking to someone in the simplest form, it's the fact that there's a fantastic opportunity for people from an investment standpoint to get involved in a new technology sector that's exciting, growing extremely quickly. And if you understand how to identify what a quality project looks like by doing your own research into it or working with people that understand it, you know, you can make a great deal of money. And one thing that I do want to make sure is made clear as well is it's a very volatile marketplace. As much as you can make a great deal of money, if you don't know what you're doing, you can also lose a lot of money. Yeah. But that's probably the simplest form that I could explain what Bitcoin is. In terms of how it works, that's when it starts becoming a little bit more tricky. But the best way that I can explain it from a blockchain sense is when you carry out a transaction, me sending Bitcoin to you, that transaction gets recorded and it's put onto the blockchain. And it's the simplest way to do that is it's a block that has a number of different transactions inside of it, that one block. And then that goes onto the blockchain for miners, which is where proof of work comes into play. And they actually solve complicated mathematical algorithms and equations in order for each one of those transactions to be confirmed. And there's a lot of different computers in the network that all have to confirm it. Now, once they've done that, okay, and that whole block is confirmed, that means that the transaction that you and I had sending Bitcoin to one another is completely confirmed, irrefutable, irreversible. The chain is just in between one block and the next block, hence a blockchain, and it just keeps going. But that's available for the public, for everyone to see every transaction. But where it's got the anonymous side of it is people can't see your name or my name. All they know is my wallet address, which again, they wouldn't know is my wallet. They just know a wallet address has sent X amount of Bitcoin to another wallet address. So the inner workings can get more complicated than that, but that's probably the best way I can simplify it.
That sounds, perfect, a perfect explanation of how that works. And I think you're right. It's a little bit like, if you're looking at buying the top of the range Mercedes because you love the way it sounds, you love the way that it looks. But do we really know what's underneath the bonnet? And do we really want to know what's underneath the bonnet? As long as it kind of drives well and you look good in it, that's the main thing. And something when we were talking a couple of weeks ago that you mentioned as well, I think to start getting the general public really kind of into Bitcoin is a bit of a double-edged sword for me, where we can see that the banks are starting to kind of get a little bit interested in this now. In fact, we just last week, I think it was, Sweden have now kind of created their e-krona. I know that Britain are looking at their Britcoin. When we look at the whole scenario of blockchain and cryptocurrency, it's supposed to be decentralized, so it kind of gives everything back to us. But wouldn't you say that by the banks kind of getting involved would start to make it more centralized again?
Without a doubt. And, one thing that I love about this space is the community, and I love the fact that it's meant to be giving power back to the people, and long may that continue. But we've also got to be realistic here and look at the powers that are in this world. So sometimes if you can't beat them, you've kind of got to join them. And what we've got to look at ultimately is if you're looking at this as an investment tool, or you're looking at it to use for your business to do lightning fast cross-border transactions, or you're trying to send money overseas to friends and family, it's perfect. It's a fantastic thing to get into. But we can't be clouded in thinking that, the banks and, the governments and the sort of global elite are not going to have a piece of the pie in this, and they're going to have an element of control. As much as we don't want them to, they are going to. There's no getting away from that, because the people that write the laws are the people that are in charge, and if they say you've got to pay tax on crypto, if they say we're swapping from fiat tangible cash to intangible Bitcoin or USD coin or digital ruble, then people will fall in line, because the majority do.
Yes, yeah, of course. And talking about then fiat currencies, I mean, there's talk at the moment of us becoming a completely digitalized currency world. Do you think that'll actually ever happen, or do you think that both will run tangibly together?
I think that they'll run tangibly together for quite some time, but I think eventually it will phase out. I mean, there are countries in Europe already that you can't deposit cash in the banks anymore. They're phasing this out. And I see there are huge benefits for it to be, a completely digital world. But there's also a lot of things that are not so great, unfortunately, in terms of the element of control. Again, if we go back to the governments and the banks, etc., if you and I were to carry out a transaction, if I said to you, I really like that microphone, I'll give you £500 for it, and I give you that in cash, there's no element of control for anybody else within that transaction. But the minute that becomes digital and it's recorded on, the blockchain or on a ledger of some kind, every single transaction is going to be recorded. And that's the only negative that I see. The positives massively weigh over because, from an investment standpoint, the space is great. The speed of transactions, it's banking the unbanked. You've got people in Africa that literally have to walk miles to get to the nearest bank, but they've got internet and they've got smartphones. And what cryptocurrency has done for them is allowed them to be able to, be their own bank and be able to carry out transactions and make money for themselves from an investment standpoint, without having to even leave their home or business anymore. And that is a fantastic thing.
Yes, yeah. Great. One of the things that really excites me, which I've kind of got into, and it makes perfect sense, again, kind of getting, for want of a better word, the old school into kind of thinking, well, this technology is amazing, are smart contracts. I think the smart contract thing is absolutely amazing for me. Like you were just saying, that kind of immediate thing that can happen by having a smart contract compared to the old way of kind of, going through that contractual procedure. How do you see smart contracts? How would you explain a smart contract transaction, any kind of transaction to, again, the general public, and how that works?
Okay, so in simple terms, in the simplest way that I can explain it to you is with a very popular cryptocurrency called Ethereum. Okay, so what Ethereum allows you to do is, as well as doing that transaction similar to Bitcoin, where I can send something peer-to-peer directly to you, what you can actually do with Ethereum is you can actually add documents to that transaction. So, that could be as simple as a Word document, a PDF, some text, images, whatever it may be. But the beauty about that is, again, someone else the other side of the world, you're able to conduct a transaction. People are doing this with real estate right now. So you can buy real estate using Bitcoin or Ethereum and some of the cryptocurrencies that are out there. And all of the paperwork that would be needed, and normally you would have to go over there, be there in person, sign all the documents. You can do all of that from your own home, buy a house in the other side of the world, send it as a smart contract. It's all there on the public blockchain, so people can see, and there's your transaction done in minutes. It's mind blowing.
It is. I saw well, it's not an idea. It's actually in fruition now with one of the with an airline company or a booking online travel company, whereby and we could see this through the pandemic as well, where flights would literally getting cancelled willy-nilly, and and a lot of the time as well,